the conversation that everybody has been asking for. Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes finally sit down for a conversation, and they hash out a lot of their differences here. Tucker does ask Nick about why he went after right-wing conservatives throughout his time here on the internet. Very interesting conversation. Let's get into it.
Is that we're the marketplace of ideas and we're about free speech and the rest of it. And here I am being like nuked from orbit by Ben Shapiro as a kid. And for asking what I thought were reasonable questions, because I didn't come from some strange background. I come from a normal home. You know, my parents are Catholic. They're married. We came from a relatively affluent suburb. I went to Lyons Township. That's like a very affluent high school. In other words, I didn't wake up as like the son of, William Luther Pierce. I wasn't like a skinhead or something. You know, I was like a normal guy that was like, yeah, like country's too diverse. We're too pro-Israel. Like this is reasonable. And I was just getting sandbagged for it and blacklisted. And what's more, nobody cared. Like, because I remember going on Twitter and saying like, why isn't anyone sticking up for me? Where's Dave Rubin? The free speech warrior. Where's he on this one? Where's Shapiro? Where's all these people? And in some way, they were all sort of complicit in this.
Nick has a actually really good point here, because even when I was growing up and listening to Ben Shapiro and listening to the free speech activists, right? We are the free speech. We are the party of free speech. I did come to realize that many of the free speech activists, right? The absolutists, turns out there are some particular things that you cannot talk about in the public eye, especially with some of these content creators, especially because during YouTube's time and X's time and Jack Dorsey, the topic of Israel was always, whether you're Republican or Democrat, was always off limits, has always been. And so that's something that I think a lot of people didn't realize, that you could talk about the blacks, you could talk about the illegal immigrants, you could talk about any race, any type of person that's here in this country. But for some reason, the little hat people were off limits for years. Now, because of October 7th, now we're having the conversation moving forward. I think this is where Nick is coming from, where he was frustrated. He was frustrated saying, where's Ben Shapiro at? Where are the people that talk about free speech? Now, all of a sudden, they're censoring him.
So I realized that the conservative movement was completely bankrupt in that way.
Yeah. Well,
and I became very radical.
Well, you became, let me just say, I'm so familiar with, I was much older when it happened to me and much more insulated. I was not a college student. I was like 45. So, and I was in a much better place to withstand the pressure. But I do think this is my main question to you, is when you get attacked, when people call you names, like they always called me racist, and I would always think to myself, I'm actually not. I would tell you if I was racist. I'm a little sexist, but I'm not racist. And I never understood why they did that. And then I thought, maybe the point is to make me racist. Where you just get to a point where you're like, well, if you're going to slander me, then I'll just become the thing you're calling me. I do think that's a feature of human nature, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
And if you stare too intently at the accusers, at the, whatever Ben Shapiro's or Mark Levin's or Ted Cruz or whoever it is calling you names, it like distorts you and you actually change and become what they say you are. Have you thought that ever? Do you worry?
This is actually a really great point from Tucker. For those of you guys that don't know, I'm Hispanic. I live in a community that's about 90% Hispanic community. When I came out as a Trump supporter back in 2017, I was being called a coconut. Jake VARR, you are brown on the outside and you're white on the inside. You're a race traitor. You want the wall up. What's the matter with you? Our people from Mexico want to come in here and have a better life, Jake. You are a race traitor. You are a coconut. You are brown on the outside, but you want to be a white person. You are a wannabe white individual. That's what you are, Jake. That's what they told me. And every time they told me this, I thought to myself every single time, you know what? Fine, I'll be a fucking coconut. Fine, I'm brown on the outside. I guess I am white on the inside then. Fuck you guys for telling me that I want a better immigration policy, that I want illegal immigrants out of this country as a Hispanic individual. And I think the more times you see this, these types of situations, more people will embrace that type of racism. I think Barack Obama turned more people racist, according to their definition, than Trump ever has. And it's the left that's been pushing this type of shit. They call you enough names until you say, all right, fuck it. Call me whatever the fuck you want. I want illegal immigrants out. I want black people to stop committing crimes. You know, all these social things. I want women to get back in the fucking kitchen. I think that women should get off OnlyFans. You know, I want women to stop being whores. Fine, I'm a misogynist. Whatever you want to call me. Eventually, you embrace those types of labels. I think Tucker brings up a good point of the psychosis of the American people.
Did that happen to you?
No, I don't think it ever did, because I know who I am. I had a very firm grounding of what I'm about, which is that I was deeply Catholic, and I still am, deeply patriotic and pro-American. And I don't consider myself temperamentally to be an angry or a hateful person. So I never, in other words, lost my center. You know, they say this thing about you look into the abyss and the abyss stares back into you. That never really happened to me. I was frustrated. I was frustrated because I felt like I was being denied a level playing field, opportunity, and it wasn't fair. I felt like I was right, and these people that were basically hypocrites, grifters, not really conservative, they were controlling the conversation, and as a consequence, they were controlling the Republican movement. And I really perceive this as like an urgent crisis, because if we wanted Trump to deliver America first, to realize it, the Trump movement had to transform the conservative movement to reflect the victory that Trump won.
So, I won't keep torturing you with biographical questions, but I do want to, like, so how your show gets canceled, you drop out of college, you have no money, you decide you want to work at the Leadership Institute, which is like a conservative think tank or some organization of longstanding in Arlington, Virginia. Mm-hmm. Can't get the job there because you're worried about immigration. It's all pretty amazing. And then, like, where does that leave you? How did you succeed?
Well, I continued doing my show. I did it independently. I put up a green screen. I got my computer, webcam, and I just started going live every night in the same way that I did at RSBN. I just did it on my own channel where I had creative control over it. And at that point, I basically mounted an attack on the conservative establishment from the outside. I sort of realized that there's sort of two ways you could play this. You could infiltrate the conservative movement. I could recant all my views and apologize and pretend to be one of them and bypass the gatekeepers, the censors. I said, or I could.
Now, this is a great point here. This is a technique that the progressive left has done to the Democratic Party, the moderate Democratic Party. Cenk Uygur has admitted that instead of starting an entirely new party, we infiltrate the Democratic Party and we change their minds through the inside in. This is a technique that even Cenk Uygur has said he is doing for the progressive left, for people like AOC, for the people that are the Social Democratic Party, like the Bernie supporters. This is what they are doing. They've admitted their game plan. Nick acknowledges that he could infiltrate it, pretend that he's a right-winger, that he's a neocon, that he supports Israel, and slowly but surely infiltrate the Republican Party. Instead, he went this direction, which he'll explain.
Kind of be in the wilderness, and I would be alone and I would be radioactive, but I could challenge the credibility and legitimacy of the conservative movement and its claim to represent conservatives. And that was kind of the mission, was to say, no, the immovable standard is America first. I'm going to represent it. And the conservative movement is going to have to move to me. I will not move towards them. And I thought, maybe I'll make money and maybe I won't, but I'm going to try it for a couple of years and I'll see how it goes.
So, but the sight picture in your head was enemy is conservative movement.
Yes.
Do you think that was a good choice?
Yes, absolutely.
Obviously, it panned out pretty well for Nick. Took him 10 years, but it panned out pretty fucking well.
But why not like Antifa or,
Everybody else was already doing that shit.
Or there are a lot of institutions on.
Everybody else was already going after Antifa and Black Lives Matter. Every conservative was already going after that. And I'm sure 100%, Nick is against that as well. He's against that as well. The difference is he was going after the neocons and the, I guess, quote unquote, Jewish lobbyists that lobby out these politicians, both on the right and the left. That was the difference. That's what made Nick special in his steps to rising to popularity.
Well, George Soros, like, why would it be their conservative establishment? Why did you think that was important?
Well, I kind of took a page from Trump's playbook, which is that you have to, in the country, the left was hegemonic over all the institutions. And you have this organized opposition to the left and the Democrats and all the left-wing controlled institutions. And the organized opposition comes from movement conservatism, the Republican Party, Fox News, the sort of constellation of conservative institutions. And I said, the problem is, whether you go Democrat or you go Republican, you're kind of just like getting the same thing. You're getting the establishment effectively. The opposition is basically controlled or moderated. It's not authentic opposition. It's not a true alternative. And so I said, we, and by we, I mean the true America First nationalists, we need to fight for the mantle of the opposition. And then leading the opposition, then we can take the fight to the left as the conservatives, as the Republicans, whatever. But first, you have to win that internal battle among the audience that the conservatives have. Because that's really the problem, is that they have usurped. The base is extremely conservative, extremely anti-left, but the Republican Party, like those that represent them, are not at all. A lot of them are atheists, a lot of them are gay, a lot of them are feminists.
And this goes back to even the Charlie Kirk Big Tent movement. If you guys remember, Charlie brought in individuals that were homosexuals, drag queens. Blair White, for example, was one that was trans for Trump. Big Tent movement type of thing. And the Groypers back in 2019 did debate Charlie on these types of topics here, saying that is a true conservative willing to throw away their type of moralities of this to welcome in either homosexuals or people that are liberals that just don't like the Democratic Party, to bring them in there to influence voters. That's kind of the case there. And my perspective is that when you welcome the devil into your household, when you try to change the devil you can never change the devil. The devil will never change. The devil will always change you. This is why we now have Dave Rubin and his husband adopting children that they use for their sperm donors to other women. And now they're raising two children as husband and husband in a way. And you didn't see any pushback from Charlie Kirk. You didn't see any pushback from PragerU or the Daily Wire. And this is what we get. We get the devil changing your opinions and adjusting to people that you like. Oh, Dave Rubin, yeah, he's a homosexual, but he's one of the good ones. He's one of the good ones. So don't question him and his husband. That's how the devil changes you, when you welcome in to the party as a whole.
And so I said, like, we kind of need to rally, like Trump did, rally the base against the establishment.
Yes.
And then take the fight to the left as the true alternative. And if you can win that, then you win the country. That was kind of Trump's model.
What did you see as like the most important gatekeepers that needed to be overturned, pushed aside in order to do this?
It was the Zionist Jews, like Dave Rubin, like Ben Shapiro, like Dennis Prager. It was these the guys that were really controlling the media apparatus that seemed to me to be the biggest impediment.
Fox is not a Jewish business, though.
Well, Rupert Murdoch is an ally of Netanyahu, so
well, Zionists in general.
Yeah.
The
and
Zionists.
he owns the whole News Corp empire. So, and yeah, he's certainly a part of it also.
I mean, Dave Rubin, though, does he matter?
No, not really.
Right. I mean, Dave Rubin is like, I don't know. Do people watch Dave Rubin?
They did.
And like I said before, yeah, Dave Rubin does not matter. However, the point is that Dave Rubin's adopting children, surrogates, to have kids with his gay lover, and no conservative individual that's aligned with the Zionist position is pushing back on that disgusting act. This is why I go back to saying that you cannot change the devil. The devil will change you. You are more willing to accept liberal ideology when you welcome in that liberal ideology into your party.
Back then, I mean, because you got to consider they were kind of like the ascendant new media, you know? They represented the next big thing.
I mean, and Ben Shapiro seems irrelevant to me now.
But back then, for
I guess
young,
that's
he was
true.
huge. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So maybe you won.
Oh, certainly.
All right, so there you guys have it. Let me know your comments down below of what your thoughts are with Nick and how he approached the Republican Party and his steps towards that, guys. With that being said, please give me your thoughts down below, and I'll see you guys on the next Project VO Pod. God bless.